help for your food addiction and you don't know where to start? Welcome to the series, The Food Addiction Frontlines, where we uncover the expertise and services available for overcoming food addiction. I'm Dr. Vera Tarman, an addiction physician specializing in sugar and ultra-processed food addiction. In each 15-minute episode, we'll meet leading experts making a difference in this field. They will share their journey, their training, and the unique services that they provide so that you can find a treatment that is best for you. So welcome, Bitten Jonsson.
Thank you, Vera.
What inspired you to specialize in the field of food addiction?
I ended up in treatment 1985 for my alcoholism, and I was blown away with all the knowledge about addiction being a brain illness, and I learned a lot. So I thought, this is my new field, addiction medicine. I fell in love with it, and I've worked on it ever since. So it's almost going to be 40 years this September. I'm very grateful. I would never change if I had a chance. But also at that time, I saw that working with alcohol and drugs, they were, as I called, a car mechanic doing psychotherapy. A lot of people hated me for saying that, but I came from the medical world, the science, the medicine, that world. That's why I like to talk to you a lot. I saw that there weren't anyone doing a diagnose. They did provide 12-step, which was good. That was better than nothing. But there was nothing about the brain or medicine or diagnose or screening. They picked them from the street and put them in a group and talked about drinking. And it was a lot of confrontation, which was devastating for many. So that's when I learned about the word carefrontation, with empathy, meeting somebody's pain and denial and explaining the illness, and it's not your fault. That made a totally difference. Most people didn't have medical training, so they thought that I was cocky in a way because I lifted my nursing training, holistic nursing training, which I got in Sweden. Very early in 1990s, I had heard about this training about ADDIS, which is alcohol and drug diagnostic instrument, because I worked with alcohol and drug addicts. And I thought, of course, if we're going to admit somebody, we need to do a deep, thorough assessment and a diagnose according to the criteria in ICD-10 and DSM-5. So I did that training, and that's how I met Börje, my wingman today. He was a bachelor in sociology, and he had the same feeling. So we started working with diagnostic. And then when I quit smoking and ended up trying to drown myself in chocolate and ice cream 7 years later, I understood sugar and carb addiction, which I didn't before. I had no idea. Started studying that and ended up learning about functional medicine and metabolic health. And I found out that addiction medicine field is pretty isolated, almost any field. I used to joke and say that kidney doctors doesn't know where the brain is. Of course, that's a joke. I felt that the medicine world was so split in different specialities, and each one was brilliant, of course, but they didn't connect the dots. Addiction is a very complex, confusing illness that affects anything from the tip of our hair to the tip of our toenail, the whole body. So that's what I started realizing, that there weren't a lot of training in that. And I started developing the treatment program, holistic treatment, where I included many disciplines from traditional medicine, from addiction medicine, from the functional orthomolecular medicine world, which I thought was very important, also from 12-step. Everything we knew about all the treatment facilities. Went studying, looking at Talbot Recovery Campus in Atlanta, which was very famous at that time. I had contact with people at Betty Ford Center, Hazelden, Mount Ashley. And also I took the treatment I got at Capistrano by the Sea, which was absolutely one of the best in US at that time. I took the model from there, how to treat addiction. To me, there's absolutely no difference in alcohol and drug addiction and sugar carb addiction. And I used to joke and say, we are talking food addiction, we should say liquid addiction about alcoholism. But you and I know that we're not addicted to water. Food is a very confusing concept. We always have to explain it. We're not addicted to every food. There is, otherwise we would die. We couldn't eat anything. So what is addictive? What is the psychoactive substance? So that's been very important for me to lift out and teach that we have to focus on the psychoactive substance. That's what causes addiction. That's what screws everything up.
You mean your program of teaching?
Both. My program of teaching is built on my program of treatment. I developed the treatment first. I ran a treatment facility. I did all these intensives. Through the years, I've had thousands of clients since 1992 when I started. The first official program was 1995, 11th of October. That's when I really started with a 20-week program, 1 day a week, and people came from all over Sweden. And then I increased it so they could stay over to a weekend and then a week and so on, because I saw that was needed. And I also tried to do long-term aftercare, but most people fall off, sorry to say. But I'm not a scientist. I could never sit in a science office and play with Excel arc. I would freak out. I'm a clinician. I'm a hands-on. So, I kept just treating. And then I was so alone. In 2012, my caseload was killing me. I just realized I can no longer take one more client. I realized either I start a rose garden or a dog kennel.
You were the only one in Sweden doing this work.
Only one in Sweden, the only one in Sweden. And I had clients from Finland, Norway, and Denmark too. My first book, 2004, was translated to Finnish. So people kept calling me. And I felt very frustrated and powerless. I couldn't provide for them. So I thought, either I quit now and make a dog kennel or a rose garden. I was at the point where if anyone asked me, what shall I eat? I hit them. Then one day it hit me. I need to train colleagues.
Yeah.
In 2012, I started the first training, and it wasn't a lot at that time. I took the pieces I had and started to teach. That turned out well, and more people was interested, and I did more training. And then in 2018, people I knew in my international network, they started to say, why don't you do the training in English? And I thought, oh, Jesus, translate everything. But I did. And with the help of that network, they are still in my sort of faculty. And I started looking for teachers. So I started to do a training program in English, Holistic Medicine for Addiction. It's on my website. Being a nurse, it's extremely important. Before I start treating somebody, I need to know what I'm treating. I don't treat harmful users. I don't treat eating disorders. I treat only addiction. So that's why I developed the diagnostic instrument based on the same criteria, same instrument for alcohol and drugs that we have in ICD-10, 11, and in the DSM-5. I've had contact with the founder, Norman Huffman. He started the diagnostic toolbox, SADS. So we have inherited validity from Addis on sugar. And what blows me away is that people have been in therapy again and again with different counselors and different methods, but nobody have put together an assessment like what we show them on the screen. This is your checklist. Look here. This is your curve. Look here. And they start crying of relief.
And are you talking about your sugar tool now? Or
yeah, the sugar tool, which is the beginning. I wish that every client should have the right to a good assessment and diagnose before we do the treatment plan. That's my wish and my dream. With cancer, you don't go in and cut in a tumor without knowing what is it. Is it anywhere else in the body? What type of cells are they? You do a biopsy, you do x-ray, you do all kinds of examination, and then you tailor the treatment. So that's what I'm working on.
Now, what does your training program actually look like? Is it virtual? Is it a one-year program?
It's online. Yeah. And it's a live lecture once a month, sometimes twice a month. The first semester is biochemical repair, addiction, medicine, the brain and the body, and metabolic dysfunction. The second part is how to run groups. It is treatment, it is relapse prevention, spiritual training. It's more like, what do we do about this now? And in the meantime, between the lectures, I go in and do in-service. Actually, I will have one on Wednesday this week, where I pick up several of the lectures and we put it together in an action plan, because treatment is action, you know that. So that's how we do it. It's 1 year, but I had one person do it in 4 years. On the other hand, he had 3 kids during that time and he moved. So there is no deadline.
What is unique about your program over other programs that are now developed?
The biochemical repair, when I was working with alcohol and drug addicts coming in very broken, very physical and mental broken, and they put them in a group or started to do therapy on them. And they didn't even know they had a brain. They were incredibly broken. A couple of people taught me that you have to repair the brain and the body and restore energy in the mitochondria, so you have mental horsepower, which is a saying I stole from a psychiatrist called Daniel Amen. It's a beautiful saying. Then and that takes different times for different people, depending on how broken you are. But that is what we start with. We don't start doing any emotional or thought process or therapy in the beginning. We just change food, work on the breathing, coping mechanism, stress, restore overbreathing, which is play havoc on people's biochemistry. We work on sleep, we work on physical activity and supplements. And then once they are stabilized, it's like you think they are on intensive care. Once they're stabilized, we put them in the care unit. And then they start working on all the other things.
One of the unique features in relation to other programs, besides the fact that you are the first, is that you do rely on science and clinical work. It's not just
absolutely. Yeah. And my nursing background and the nursing work I've done. And also in the training, we have doctors mostly that teach and train, professors.
What is it that when somebody takes your course after a year, what does that qualify them to do? Can they then be a food addiction counselor?
Yes, absolutely. They can be a sugar and carb addiction professional. They have a certificate. They've gone through the training, and each training, each lecture, they write a reflection. This is what I learned about myself. This is what I've learned about the disease and the tools I pick up. 3 pieces that they have to write a reflection on. The last part is the final assessment. And one thing I tell everybody that comes want to do the training is that don't have a ready-made, I'm going to be one-on-one in a clinic here and people are going to come to me. Don't have anything ready-made, because the treatment chain for addiction is huge. Many pieces, relapse, food, biochemistry, therapy, blah, blah. There are so many pieces in it. So I advise them to be very open-minded and take in all the lectures and then feel, where is my enthusiasm? Because I advise people to work with what they love working with. Some people come on board, I'm gonna work with food. And then they say, oh, never, I don't want to do food plans or work with food. I want to work with relapse. And fine. And also another thing that I really encourage all my students, work together with somebody, create network. So they find each other in the program. And one might to sit and do sugar, the diagnostic tool, and the other one want to work more with the treatment. I don't think you should work alone. I think that is very tearing and wearing when you work with these clients. They're pretty heavy duty to work with. Yeah. So one thing I just saw, I got a mail from one, they're building a beautiful network in Australia at the moment. Stuff like that makes me very happy.
How do you keep your head above board? I'm guessing it's the connections that you make with others.
Network. Yeah, that's very important.
Now, is there something that I didn't ask you about your teaching program that you would like to showcase?
There is a huge library on many pre-recorded or recorded lectures that they do have access to. So they get much more than just a training today within the same price, because they can listen to everyone that was 1 year ago, 2 years ago, and so forth. So that is bonus.
Yeah, so they would get the certificate, a large library of information plus a network.
Yes, absolutely.
Any last words to leave the listener, like a message of hope?
This is a horrible illness that keeps you in shame, in stigma, in denial. And remember, it isn't your fault. So I will encourage you to come to us professionals, because we have special training to meet you with sympathy and empathy and understanding in a way you cannot find anywhere else.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Big sugar is the enemy, corrupting the minds of the teens, expelling you not to foresee. Your body's your temple, your mind is your key to a life tapped into happiness. Have it, don't dream it. If only you could